Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's Me, Not You. I am joined by my fabulous co-host. Hello, Melissa Neely.
Hello.
Hello, Jake Paul.
Everybody, how are you today?
Oh, we're having a little ASMR. A little.
Yes, are you enjoying
that? I feel like I need to be cooking something or like opening a package.
I accidentally scrolled past ASMR on TikTok the other day and I watched it accidentally, let me preface, for like a good 45 minutes. I didn't even mean to.
It does suck you in.
Listen, homegirl had ocean noises. She was doing some tappy tap with the acrylics.
Awesome.
Anyway, hello everybody.
Schumann resonance, Melissa. I'm gonna tell you what it is real quick.
Go for it.
I'm like yelling now. So guys. All right, Schumann resonance. Melissa, our girl, is going to talk a lot about this because Jake and I sort of know, but not really. But Schumann resonance is not resonance is Mother Earth's natural heartbeat rhythm is a frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is also known as Schumann resonance. So a 7.83 hertz frequency is an alpha theta brainwave frequency in the human brain. So alpha theta brainwave frequency is a relaxed, dreamy, sleepy state that it also happens when there is cell regeneration, which is super important, and healing happens. Melissa, why do you think it's important that we talk about this now?
Well, I can't resist anything that has science.
We wouldn't know that being a biologist. Nope.
I know, a background as well. So I love when there is another way of explaining things for the left brainers, to combine with your right brain side of the metaphysical. So the Schumann resonance is basically electrons. Electrons kind of float all over the place. They're the things that give off extra charges. Like one of the things that I think is really cool about the Earth, if you've ever noticed when it rains really hard and it's been dry for a while, the rain kind of runs right off the ground. So that's actually because of the electron charge that changes when the ground gets so dry. It actually repels the water until those electrons are kind of moved out so that the water can be absorbed. So that's just and if you're health conscious, like free radicals, all that kind of stuff, it's sort of similar when it comes to what the electrons are doing bouncing around. So Schumann resonance is a charge of electromagnetic energy. We know that the Earth has big magnets. We know that there's, different layers of the Earth that have like kind of the ozone layer keeps some of that magnetic charge of other things happening in space out. So we're able to function, temperatures, all of that to be in our little sphere that we live in. So when lightning or there's some kind of a charge to the Earth, it creates this heartbeat. The Earth is always being inundated with electromagnetic activity. Think of a compass even, right? That's a magnetic charge, just to kind of give you an idea of real world application. So even if there's a solar flare, like a solar flare is basically when the sun has too much opposing energy, magnetic thing happens, hits a sunspot and just shoots the energy out because it doesn't want to hold on to it. And then the Earth kind of picks it up. So we've had a lot of the Northern Lights. That is actually being able to see that magnetic hit to kind of the upper atmosphere.
Yeah.
So the Earth is kind of like a heartbeat. That's the beat that the Earth is constantly pulsing at, just because of, I'm not going to go into all the science behind it, but just because that's how it is. And that's how we resonate with the Earth. It also affects our pineal gland, right? So our pineal gland, Rachel, you can probably talk a lot more about what it does. I know it helps you with your gifts, but what is it? What else is that responsible for?
Well, it's a hormone. It's a thyroid. No, it's your pituitary. I don't know. Don't make me think science right now.
So I know the pineal gland too, like can make you extra drowsy. Like I do know that.
Yeah, if it's not in balance, then it can mess up your system. I'm so sorry, I'm being dumb.
No, you're not.
It's an endocrine gland. So it's going to mess. So like endocrine has to do with all of your hormones. And when your hormones are out of balance, then your whole body's out of whack. So
Right.
you
So
always want to have your
because
hormones in balance.
the
There you
magnetic
go.
charge,
Nurse here. Check
I know,
mark.
right? So it can affect your gland, making you crazy, right? So sometimes the Schumann resonant gets too high. There's too much charge going on. There's something else that comes in, throws us totally off. Well, that's what earthing, if you've heard where you're supposed to go step outside.
Yeah.
That's taking all those extra electrons now that are flipping around in your body, like, and then you put your feet to the earth, and the earth is like, hey, we know what to do with this. We know how to balance it. We know how to get rid of those extra electrons. Most of the time, how that happens is through trees being able to take the water up out of the earth, goes up through the xylem and phlegm are actually the two ways for trees to do their water back and forth. That's why, people just want to go hug a tree or just sit with the trees to feel better. There is actually that electron regulation that's happening at the same time.
I find that interesting. And I feel like I'm in science class right now and I'm learning about photosynthesis, and our teacher, Melissa Neely, is here in the house. So,
Yes.
so why is it important then so if Mother Earth's heartbeat, if it's at 7.83 hertz, like why is that important to connect with that and to connect with that heartbeat?
Well, it's just like the heartbeat of anything that you want to connect with. You think about people getting panicked and their heart races, or, arrhythmias, or kind of anything. I mean, the heart is really the basis of all that we are for our existence. It's our, from our blood to literally the energy that's coursing through us.
So would you say as humans, we are out of balance from Earth's electromagnetic frequency?
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I'll check, like, okay, I'm feeling crazy and I don't really have an explanation for why I'm feeling crazy. I'll check some friends who do Facebook posts, like what's going on with the planets, because planets have gravitational electromagnetic effect on us as well. And then I'll check out to see what's going on with the Schumann resonance, and maybe something happened and it's really high. Well, earthquake, and it doesn't matter if the earthquake's not around us, that energy is still vibrating through all of the Earth's core.
So Jake, how have you experienced, because I know you're very intuitive and you can feel different vibrations and frequencies. Has there been any times where you've noticed for yourself, like, oh, something's off, and maybe you've tapped that back into the earth?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I kind of come at it from a little bit more of just like I do a lot of work with Mother Earth in kind of solitary practice, and being somebody who works with the medicine drum in my healing practice too. So I'm incredibly very connected to the heartbeat of Mother Earth or Gaia, or, whatever you want to call it. So it's definitely can be very dysregulating, when these flares happen, or when there is that kind of juxtaposition between whatever we're kind of doing on our day-to-day that's either accelerating or, slowing down our energy, kind of mismatching it. When you kind of fall out of rhythm, it's hard to feel like you're on tempo. And that's in everyday tasks, so when we don't have those moments to ground or earth, to kind of take that minute to step back and connect, then we're kind of just flying at the edge of our seat, not really getting a great opportunity to, number one, sit with yourself in a quiet space, in a quiet, energetic body. And two, it can kind of be dysregulating in terms of how we experience time. And I know that that's kind of funny too. It's kind of like it's hard to explain, but for our friends who do healing work or do anything on an intuitive level, when you don't take those moments to ground yourself, it kind of just feels like you're all up here, up in the head, and you're just kind of like leaning forward, living in the future. So when we take those moments to sync with the rhythm of the earth, sync with Mother Earth's heartbeat, and that can be any way. You can be tapping on your lap even, I think is incredibly powerful. Using an instrument or even a drum. I will always recommend a drum. I think it's just a really powerful way to take your step back, get synced up, and then have a nice clear slate to be like, what the F is going on? How am I feeling? because that's kind of what happens whenever these solar flares happen. Everybody, you'll kind of see, will I'll always find out by other people asking what's going on. Like, is anybody else feeling crazy? Is anybody else feeling just so out of their depth today? You know, so it's always interesting. And I mean, I think there's something to be said about that, being able to impact anybody no matter what corner of the earth something funky is happening. I mean, it's especially to intersect back to regular psychic work, you know, how people can predict major life events or cataclysmic environmental disaster on the other side of the earth. We're always plugged in, you know, and it's because we're plugged into that heartbeat that we can predict it before it happens, or that we can sense that it's happening at the same time, you know. And that doesn't mean that you're watching the news. It just means that you are subtly experiencing that rhythm, that heartbeat. It's kind of like when you drop a stone in a quiet pond, you know, that ripple will be heard all across the body of water. When we're in a space of grounding, in that quiet space, kind of on that tempo, you know.
Oh, that's good. So Melissa, let me ask you this then. Do you feel that this Schumann resonance influences our behaviors and how we act on a day-to-day basis?
I think it only does when it's off kilter because we're so used to it.
What do you mean, like we're so used to it? Like we're used to being out of balance?
You know, we're how many miles an hour are we spinning in a circle, and you know, everything else. We don't think about us actually spinning. We feel like we're standing still. So our bodies are regulated to the certain heartbeat. You know, we have our own heartbeat. We don't stop to think about, like, I mean, unless you're doing aerobic activity, you know, like, ooh, where's my heartbeat for
gotta
you know,
get
fat
in my
burn.
athletic range,
right? Or endurance training or whatever. You don't really think about that. So I feel like we only pay attention, which does not mean that that's the right thing to do, when something is out of whack. I think if we spent more time, like Jake was saying, balancing our energy, you know, taking that time to make it match the balance of Earth. Because most of the time, you know, I know Jake talked about being in our head, but we're running around like crazy. So our energy is like all over the place. Our heart rate then is faster, if you will, energetically than what the earth is resonating at. That's why people say, go take a walk, go be with nature. When you see the trees, remind yourself to breathe, you know, breathe as the trees do. Like, or you've seen the pictures of how the trees go up and then the roots, you know, the lungs and all of that. So I think if we spent more time connecting with that, remembering that, we would probably learn how to relax within ourselves. You know, we have work that we need to do, but when you only have so much time, and it feels better to do something when you're relaxed than it is when you feel stressed out. And I'm not saying I know how to do that, because I run pretty crazy trying to get things done.
So you both have brought up like drumming and how drumming helps you to get reconnected to Mother Earth. Why do you feel like that? What is it about drumming that helps you connect to Mother Earth?
Well, I think that drumming is kind of the psychopomp for kind of putting that place of recreating that actual beat. You know, we are always to a degree connected to it. It's just that we kind of fall out of touch out of it, or we kind of try to beat a little faster than the baseline, you know, and that could be for various different reasons. I definitely think, and just to double back for a moment, I definitely think that these kinds of impacts, I think that they more or less impact the way that we react rather than the way that we act at our baseline, if that makes sense.
That's a good point.
You know, so to go back to why I really appreciate drumming, I mean, just in my spiritual practice, it's a way for me to honor my ancestors. It's an incredibly sacred form of healing. It's music. Number one, music is a raising of the vibration, and it's also kind of that simpatico connection with Mother Earth. You know, you don't even need a drum. Even if you were to just hold and listen to the heartbeat in your chest, we're from Mother Earth. Therefore, we can never be out of touch with that resonance, you know, with her heartbeat. So even just holding your chest, breathing, connecting to that, that is drumming. We're always drumming. Biologically, we are always drumming, you know.
Melissa, what about for you?
A lot of similar. Drumming also can do the delta wavelength. I know you talked about the alpha and the theta, but the drumming can put you into delta, which is even a more relaxed. It's kind of that state when you're sleeping and your dreams, you're in
Right.
dreamland. So you can kind of dream while you're awake at the same time, you know. And I also like riding horses, you know, and when you want to do your work, it's good to listen to the oh gosh, I can't think of the name right now. The thing that just clicks back and forth.
Oh, that pantomime thing.
Yeah, this, and because you have to do it
the
to a certain
metronome.
beat.
Metronome. I'm like, what is
Thank
it?
you.
I'm like,
Or you play the piano and it has to be to the metronome, you know, what is the beat? Because in the world that we live in, like Jake said, it's reactive. So the beat that we are in at home is not the same beat we're in at the office, you know, or the beat that we're in a different situation. So
Right.
it brings our beat back to what's supposed to be natural. You know, I hate to say it's a relaxed state because that's just a state we're supposed to be at, but
Mhm.
we go so high all the time, like fast, and we must do this, we have to get to this, you know, we have all these errands to do, we have all this little time for everything. And so our, you know, our metronome is clicking way too fast. So when you hit the drum, it slows that back down and it reminds you at the tempo in which you should be operating.
but don't you find that, I know that like there's been a big, huge like hustle culture and whatnot, but I feel like there's a shift towards that's not working for us any longer. And it's going back to a more relaxed state, a more living in, you know, harmony, being happy. I mean, I see younger people kind of gravitating more towards this and kind of going out of this hustle culture mentality. Do you think part of that is like, okay, they know that they need to reconnect and kind of get inner peace and inner wisdom, and this shit's not working anymore, you know?
Well, I think COVID made us, you know, really stop to see that
We
because
threw
we
a
had
lot of
no
stuff out
choice.
with COVID. I think what was
I-
no longer working was thrown out with COVID.
Absolutely. And I think that there's something really powerful to be noted from everybody having to be indoors, much
Yeah.
quieter, not really doing too much of things, even though maybe at some capacity a lot of people were working from home,
Yeah.
things like that. But when we slow down, we catch back up with that heartbeat, with that natural baseline rhythm. And then we can kind of sort out, okay, this is, you know, big corporate that has trained me to march faster than that drum because we were expected to be machines, you
Yeah.
know, not humans. And so I think that it was definitely an incredibly powerful way to uproot from that industrial kind of complex
Yeah.
worker mentality, you know. And I know that a lot of people, you know, it's interesting because I definitely think that there's a lot of different things that have happened across the galaxy that have kind of impacted all these different subtle nudges in the way that we go about life and the way that we go about, you know, spreading ourselves thin and setting up those boundaries. But I think it's one of those just times are changing and we're just seeing the energy change, kind of like how it happened in the 90s, with people just connecting more closer to spirit, and then how we just saw the whole generation following that. I think we're going to start seeing more of that, you know, more younger children. I mean, I'm sure the both of you have already started to witness it, more younger children being highly sensitive.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a lot more clients, I feel, more than ever, who are very sensitized and are very, never considered them intuitive, but are having these very profound intuitive experiences, especially post COVID. And I think it was from that forced slow down, that forced shutdown. And for a lot of people who were ill, had to absolutely take rest, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of aspects to look at there.
I also think it goes back to even being a little kid. You know, if you want to do well, you need to have your A's, you need to have sports, you need to have music, you need to have drama, you need to have varsity letters, you need to have all of this stuff. I don't know what, to prove that you don't break under pressure, like just to get a college scholarship.
Yeah. Oh
You
my
know, or
gosh,
even,
yes. Oh,
you know, and now it's traveling leagues and like, God, kids must be so burnt out. And
Like,
I'm
I'll be
not saying it's
honest.
a bad thing to have all of that,
No.
but that teaches you if you don't have pressure,
Mhm.
you must be doing something wrong.
To be honest, I do feel like it's going on two different paths. I feel like
Mhm.
there's the path of the family that allows the kid to have space and to be who they want to be and to do what they want to do. And then there's the space of a lot of pressure, you got to get straight A's, you got to be 57 hobbies, you got to learn 37 languages. And I do see the divide going a little bit wider, because I can even tell you in my own family, I'm more of the, listen, if you want to go to college and you want to find what works for you, I support you. Be who you want to be and do what you want to do. But then there's the other line of, you better make straight A's. You're going to get this college scholarship. You're going to do this, and it's fascinating to me right now, especially with kids, and how I do see it going wider and wider. And then are you tapped in more to kind of being at peace and being, like Jake said, more sensitive and more awakened? Or am I going down this lane of, I have my blinders on and I'm going to do what I'm told? It's interesting.
I wonder if we're in a new Chiron. I never looked that up to see what
Google.
sign or
Come
if any
on,
of that changed. I know I'm going to see if any of that changed, like right before COVID or kind of after.
Melissa and I are older than Jake. I mean, when I was in high school, it was all about, you need to go to an Ivy League college, you need to have a scholarship, you need to have straight A's, you need to have hobbies. Like, it was so much pressure on this. You have to do. And now it's, for me and what I've witnessed, it's a complete abandonment of that. Like, do what you want to do, whatever makes you happy, which I'm a full supporter of, but it is a real shift. It's a shift. Jake.
It is. I think that, everything has to have a balance to it too. We have to have a far to one side, and there has to be a really far lean to the opposite side. And then, of course, the neutral middle to all of that. And I think we're kind of seeing, it's like an overcorrection. It's kind of like when you're driving and you accidentally veer off and then you overcorrect, stick back to that baseline. If you think about it, even from an economic standpoint, we've saw, the past years of people being like, oh, well, you know what, college degrees aren't everything. It's okay to work in a trades position, hands-on position, things like that. And then that shifted again. And then now, if you notice, we're in very shortage for hands-on workers, outdoor laborers, things like that. And so
plumbers,
it's only
electricians.
Only after the fact do we realize that it's important for everybody to have a different path. It can't all be the cookie cutter, Yale, Harvard pipeline. We can only get so far with everybody in a corporate position.
I remember my stepmom always says it takes all kinds of people to make the world go round. So Melissa, you were talking about earlier with solar flares, and do you feel like we as a planet are experiencing more solar flares than usual? And if so, why do you think that is?
I don't know the science behind all of it. I know we've had a lot more solar flares, which again is that magnetic opposition that happens in the sun, creates a sunspot, and then the sun just shoots out the energy of it. But we're well protected. It's not like it's gonna harm the earth. That's why we have all of our ozone layers and protective layers that are around the earth that keeps us from feeling too much of the effects. But
we keeping
we just had the northern lights like down here. So
I said, are we keeping you up?
No.
It's late, guys. It's late. It's almost my bedtime.
It is hilarious. I have the nerve to yawn. I just drank
a
dangerous amount of caffeine.
So anything else that you guys want to talk about before we wrap this up about anything? I don't even know. You can tell this is what happens when it gets this time. Rachel just starts shutting down.
Well, I guess, for me, it's if you're feeling this discord and you're feeling unsettled, you're feeling anxious, pick your word. That's just for you feeling out of balance. I realize at this moment there's still snow on the ground, but it doesn't mean you can't put your hands on trees. It doesn't mean that if you have a wooden desk, even put your hands on that. I know it's a little bit different, but you're still able to connect with something that's natural. And I also think with the shift to more natural things in our houses, we're bringing ourselves into that realm as well. The bamboo flooring, the less volatile compounds that are being released to the materials that we're using in our houses. So I do think we are doing this return to what's natural without even realizing what we're looking to do is to reset our equilibrium.
I love that. Jake, anything else you'd like to add?
I think it's really just kind of saying, I think we always like end up looping around to this kind of example of at some point we're all kind of just saying or doing like a very similar thing, just using different verbiage, you know. So it's the same thing for our peeps who are used to doing grounding techniques, like, you know, assembling the cord to the earth, or, you know, upwards, whatever way. You're connecting to the rhythm, you're connecting to the heartbeat in that same process. You know, when we do energy work, when we do all of these things, we always intersect Mother Earth.
Yeah.
You know, even when you're doing high vibrational stuff, we are an earthly body, you know, that swings into that divine, because, you know, Mother Earth energy is divine energy. You know, it's always an energy that we are swinging into. So whether you're outdoors, whether you're doing traditional grounding techniques, and you can be up on the 70th floor, you know, nothing's disconnecting you from that. You can be in an airplane and connect to Mother Earth energy. It's always within our reach. It's in our cellular data, you know. So for peeps who aren't interested in drumming or don't know how to get into this, really just take a couple breaths in some peace and quiet, or with music. You can listen to drumming, or again, put your hand over your chest, or if you're somebody who's a little bit squeamish, maybe you prefer music. And give yourself those moments.
Listening to their own heartbeat, Jake.
My partner does inside
No
organ
way.
things.
Here I am. I'm like judging. I'm sorry. Take it all back.
Yeah, because a lot of people get like icked out from that. It's the same thing
Really?
like when you've heard, yes. So a lot of people hate like when you accidentally start becoming aware of your own breath, and then you feel like you have to manually breathe.
My dog is yelling at me. You hear this? I'm so sorry.
See, you
Fine.
can get squeamish.
Go ahead.
So yeah, essentially,
Listen
you
to
know,
drumming
tapping
music.
into.
Don't listen to yourself. Got it.
Well, you can listen to yourself, whatever's comfortable for you, but it's really just a way to find yourself back to your baseline when you are feeling out of sorts, you know. So if you're ever feeling a little bit funky and you're not sure what's going on, take that step back first. It's not life altering, and you can always come back to that stasis no matter what's going on. I think it's just about, again, finding those tools, you know. Go back to the basics.
So
Ground.
center, ground, get in touch with
Salt.
the heartbeat. What?
Salt, even, you know, the salt caves or salt baths. You know, when you wash your, like if I have a lot of readings, I'll wash my hands in salt because it removes those extra electrons. That's the science part of it. But for me, I also see that it's removing anything that no longer belongs to sit with me.
And singing bowls, working with certain grounding crystals, engaging the root chakra, all of these things, the earth star chakra, all those things. So there's many different facets to do so. For me, singing bowls and music really resonate. So yeah.
And like you said, just really just taking in some nice deep breaths in and out, and just, you know, centering yourself, and maybe listening to some grounding music.
The biggest struggle for most people is to really just allot enough time to take that breath.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
That's the biggest step.
I'll tell you something I've been focusing on now, and something that I'm really trying to get into a place is a really solid morning routine, you know, and that's what I'm trying to like get focused on and really try to set myself up for the day. You know, that's Rachel's goal for 2023, a good solid morning practice.
I mean, it just really profoundly helps you connect with, if you have spiritual abilities you're looking to hone in on, if you have I mean, it profoundly helps, you know, if you're somebody who is walking a spiritual path, for example, or walking a path of mindfulness, or whatever you have it, you know, it's having that daily practice to check in, ground yourself, take those breaths, and just ask, you know, what do I need to know today? Having those times to plug in are incredibly grounding and really connecting. And over time, they really do strengthen that spiritual body, that energetic vessel. You'll notice leaps and bounds improvement if you come up with a daily practice like what Rachel was talking about, slowing yourself down, setting intention, reaching out, asking a question, engaging. It's a muscle.
We're going to have to do a whole podcast on this. This is going to be fun to talk about.
I think we will have to, actually.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up since my dog is having a heart attack. So
your dog's disagreeing with everything Jake was saying.
He is. He's like, guys, listen to Jake, listen to Melissa, listen to Rachel. They know what's up. So on that note, I just wanted to tell everyone, have a great night. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Melissa.
Hey, everybody. Great
night. Bye.
I'm going to say goodbye with ASMR. Goodbye.